Yeah, Vijay, you stay in Powai itself, Hirandan.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. I was working over there for 5 years in Credit Suisse.
In Supreme Business Park, is it?
Uh, yeah. So I think it was called Supreme. No, it was called City Park, I think, if I'm not wrong. City Park is the one where Domino's pizza shop is there. The
City Park.
poetry, we used to call
Okay.
City Park, I think. Uh, okay. Do you know where that Domino's shop is? The Domino's
Yeah.
Pizza, Subway.
Domino's was there. Now there is no. Now there is Chayo's there instead of Domino's.
Chaos is there. I think Subway also has moved into
Yeah.
the different
Subway is
building.
moved to the opposite side.
Yeah. Poetry is there, right? There. The
Yeah.
building.
Poetry is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The entire premises where that poetry is located, the upper building, that is the entire building is owned by Credit Suisse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So I used to work over there for 5 years, from 2014 to 2019. I was there
Oh.
for 5 years.
Achha.
Yeah. Powai was my favorite area because it had a lot of eating options. The moment you step down, there are so many varieties of things to eat and enjoy life. Yeah. I'm missing those days. Really. Okay. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Sir, but I have a question. I have not
Yeah.
understood what you're doing and why you're doing this.
Yeah. I'm just trying to cover my point over here. What I'm trying to do is I'm bring I'm taking this data. So you saw this bucketization, right? Which we did, right? Did you have any questions on this histogram creation till the time we created this histogram? Any
No,
questions
no.
on this? No,
That is
right?
clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to run a pivot on this data which we have. Now for making this pivot, I'm trying to show you a different view of looking at this data. This data was more focused on the sales, right? Sales of the product. And they bucketize it based on the different unit price. I mean, the different revenue price 200 to 400, 400 to 600. That's how they did. Now, I'm just focusing on date and time. And let me show you the complete picture, and then probably it will make more sense to you. So right now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get only the time that during a day we have 24 hours. In those 24 hours, what is the most preferred time when the sale happens? Did you get my point? So here we have the
Yes.
buckets, right? 200, 400, 600. I'm trying to make the bucket based on the hours. That is from midnight to 1 a.m., 1 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., and then so on till the night 11 p.m. Getting my point or no?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So to get that point, I just take this date and time field, which I took it from the this field. I've just dragged it over here in the rows. Whenever we drag it a date and time field, it gets bifurcated in years, quarters, and date and time. Okay, it basically groups the data into years, and then if you click on the plus sign next to the years, it will show you months, quarters, and all those kind of stuff. I don't want that. I want to show only the time. So what I do is I just right click on this entry and I go to group, and you will see by default this grouping into months, quarters, and years. I don't want this grouping. I will say, okay, not interested in this. I'm interested in the hours, that how many hours are there. So every day we have 24 hours. So I just select this and I say, okay, give me the data based on the hours. So 00 means it's a midnight, 12, 12, 12 in the midnight. Then 1 a.m. is where 01 is 1 a.m., 02 is 2 a.m., and so on. We go on till 23, which is 11 p.m. in the night. Okay. Against this, what I do is I just take this product and I drag it over here and I say, okay, let me get the count of products. So now what I'm doing is I'm distributing my data based on this data set, which was across so many months. I'm now trying to categorize or classifying or slicing and dicing this data based on the hours. and trying to see at what hour people are giving me sales. Okay, at what time is my highest amount of sales happening? Okay, so if I try to picturize this into this histogram kind of a graph, okay, here again, this count means it's a frequency of the sales which is happening. So somewhere around midnight and 1 a.m., I'm getting 219. I got 219 transactions, okay, or count of product sales. Again, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., I got 234 such transactions. So if you visualize this on a histogram, okay, that is, if I just go and say insert, I click on this column chart, okay, this is what my column chart looks like. So I just make it a bit bigger so that we can picturize it very well. Okay. So is it visible enough or is it too small? This is fine, right?
No, sir, visible.
Okay. Now I click on this columns and I just press Control 1 and I reduce this gap to 0%. Now after doing this, I go to the fill color and I say I'm interested in the border, the solid line, and I want a black color line. So that is done. So now if I try to visualize my data, this looks like a proper histogram. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you this data is the application of histogram. Now, if you look at this is this histogram, you'll find some people or most of my sales in the last few months have happened such that in the night from 2 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 5 a.m. is where my sales are really picking up. Okay, nothing happens between 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. roughly, I would say around 8 a.m. Nothing happens. It's very quiet. It's very low, but then from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., it starts picking up again. And then it goes on. The maximum amount of sales happen between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's my prime time. That's what I will say is my prime time, where most of my customers are free to come into my site and they do a lot of sales for me. Okay. Same thing happens during the evening time between 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. I would say roughly from 4 a.m. 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. is where I would say is that some extra sales happen to me, which are similar to the pattern in the night. Okay, so these are my times where I cannot afford to have my online services down. Getting my point? This is one way of looking at this. That when is the prime time when my most of my customers come and hit sales for me. This is the prime time. So here I cannot afford to have my online services down. I cannot have my server down. It has to perform in during my prime time because this is my main window of getting my sales. So this is another way of looking at this data using histogram. Histogram basically tells you the frequency of a particular transaction happening. So you can come to know from this particular thing that in the last 4 5 months, this is where your prime time has happened between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the window where your maximum sales will happen. There's a small window also in the midnight, and there is a small window during the evening time also. The rest of the time, it's very silent. It's like common. I mean, it's like constant. Getting my point? So this is the whole point which I was trying to drive the application of histogram. So any confusion on this, or is it still difficult
No,
to
sir.
comprehend? It's fine, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's try to move on. This is a very simple thing. Now we have covered major chunk of it. So the rest of the chunk I'm going to just skim through. It's very simple and very easy to understand. This one is a line graph. This is only to be used. Please, please, please remember this, huh? Whenever you are looking at a time series, whenever there is a time involved, whenever the x-axis is where you're going to project your time, maybe it's a year, maybe it's the months, maybe it's the uh, Mostly it should be years because uh, it has to move from one year to another year. So if you look at all the stock market data, okay, they show you for the last 5 years what how the stock is performing. So again, that particular data is fit for line graph. The line graph is to be used only when you're trying to visualize your numbers based on a time scale. Okay, if there's a time scale involved, always use your line graph. So I'll just go and select this. Again, I just click on this. Here is a line graph. I can use this one or I can use even this one. Okay, whatever you feel is far more better, you can try to use that particular thing. Now, by default, when I selected this, you can see that the yellow, sorry, the blue one stand for the year and the red one stand for the sale. The sales are performing well, but the years are not showing in the number as 2005 2006. It's basically showing you as 1 2 3 4 and 5. That means it was not able to comprehend the labels correctly. So for this, what you do is when you select the chart, you come to this chart design. In this chart design, you can go and select data. The moment you select data, you can click on edit. Okay, here you can see this is the year and this is a sales series of data, right? And this is how your legend is coming up. I mean, your x-axis is coming up. So here the x-axis is basically, or the horizontal axis, as you can see on the top, it shows this is the horizontal axis. Horizontal axis are not picking up your your year column correctly. So I'll just click on edit. I'll say here are my labels. So this is where my label is. So I will just click on this. I will say OK. So the moment I do this, here is how the line graph looks like. So 2005 onwards, my sales are coming up, and they really shoot it up from 2010. They were okay at 2011. It shooted up further in 2012, and then it dropped in 2013. That's how you come to know how your data has progressed over a time. And that's why line graphs are the best graphs when it comes to using time series data. Whenever you're trying to analyze your data over a period of time, always go for the line graph. Okay? Any confusion on this?
No, sir.
No, right? I'm skipping that particular thing where you can do your chart title. You can also go and you can click on the data labels. So data labels will start popping up over here. Probably here you can go further and say above, below, or you can say left, right, center. You can try out various options over here. Okay, lots and lots of options are available. If you feel that this font is too high, okay, too large, you can always go into format and you can try to work out on these uh, format size, I mean the text size, or you can go to home and you can just play with this font. You can make this font as 7. The moment you click on 7, all these fonts will go a bit low, so you can adjust your data, accordingly. How do you want to present that particular thing? So this is one beautiful way of doing it. So this is what is line graph. I'll quickly skim to X and Y. Now, once again, just a disclaimer, X and Y graph is basically used for correlation. Okay. Now, do you have any idea about what is correlation? In statistics, you may have heard about this correlation probability. Uh, कभी सुना है आप लोगों ने?
Probability we know, but correlation I don't
Correlation.
know.
Okay. So let me just give you a brief thing. Correlation is, say, if you're studying for these many hours, okay, then what is the score which you will earn in the exam? Okay, that's how you're trying to correlate both of them. You're trying to establish a relation between two variables. Whenever there are two variables involved, you will say it's a correlation. Co means I mean, you're trying to establish a relation between two variables. So here, one variable is that, say, a student studies for 10 hours and he scores 35 in the exam. Another student is there who is studying only for 15 hours. He's able to score 78. Another student, he studied exactly for 15 hours, but he scored 65. So you're trying to establish a relation, that what is the relation between the number of hours you study and the and the score which you get in the exam. So you try to establish that relationship. So for that, there is a chart which helps you in building that relationship. Okay, and that is called as XY graph, or you can say it as a it's called as a scatter plot. In Excel, we call it as a scatter plot. So in the insert tab, if you go over here, we covered this one. We covered the line graph. We covered the pivot. Sorry, pi. Now we have also looked at histograms and options of that. Now we go to this chart. Under chart, there's a scatter plot. Okay, you can click on this or you can click on this. So this one is a uh, is a bit messy one. It's like complicating too much of things. This is the best graph which you can see. Uh, how you see this particular graph is you you go and you select this, and how you study this graph is you say, let me just complete the graph. Let me just get the x-axis also. So in the x-axis and the y-axis, I will. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do anything? Yeah. I'll just go here and say equal to y-axis is the exam scores which I got, and x-axis is basically the number of hours which I've studied. Okay, so here if I study for 0 hours, okay, or I didn't study at all. So there may be a 0 or 2, I think 2. Yeah, I got just 2 marks. Okay, but if I study for say 22 hours, I'm getting 70 marks. So this is happening is that there is a line which is getting built up over here. Okay, these plots or these dots are basically trying to portray you that okay, this particular point is that the if I study for this 22, I think 22 hours, I'm getting around 90 marks. Now where is that 90? I think it was this one, 22 and 86. This is what is getting plotted over here. So you're trying to establish a relationship between by looking at this data points, and you're saying, is there a relationship between the scores which you get in exam and the number of hours you study? How do I make this as a relation? Now, because these are closely linked with each other, they will be called as a correlation. They are all in correlation. Okay. Now, for this particular kind of graph, there is a thing called as a trend line. Okay, when you click on trend line, it's basically building it's trying to draw a line between the common points. Okay, this involves a lot of probability and statistics knowledge on this. Okay, you can also build an equation of this trend line. Okay, how do you build this equation? You just click on this and you say, okay, give me a linear equation maybe, and once you click on this, I think not exponential, linear trend line. And then you can even go for more options, and you can say, I'm more interested in the linear kind of a graph, and display the equation on the chart. Okay, this is how we learn in our school, binomial variables, where two variables are involved. Find y if we know what is x plus there's a constant. You remember that? Even graph is basically called as y equal to ba plus c. Oh, sorry, I messed out. Ba equal to plus c. Plus c means it's a constant. And sorry, bx was there, not by. Bx plus c. Remember this during our school days? There's a slope of a line. So this is basically the slope of the line. This is basically saying that on an average, I can say that whatever number of hours you study, if you multiply it with 3.5 and you add 14 as a constant, those are the number of marks which you get in the exam. Okay? Any confusion on this?
No, sir.
Sir, just show me the starting now because I missed it due to network issue.
Sure. Starting means you want
How
to.
you prepared this?
Okay, how I prepared this. Okay,
Oh yes.
what I did is I just selected these two lines. Okay, these two graphs, and let me let me get rid of this. Let me keep it separate. Okay, I select these two things, and I go to Insert tab. In the Insert tab, there is charts, and there is scatter plot over here.
Okay, okay, okay.
I click on this. This is how the scatter plot came. And then you know how to add the axis. I just added a line to it by clicking on this trend line. The moment you click on trend line and then you press Control 1 or more options, you will get this kind of a line indicating what type of relationship are you trying to create. So if I click on more options over here, this is how the line looks like. Uh, this one, you can see I am picked up the linear relationship. Okay, there are different kind of relationship between two variables. Can be exponential, can be logarithmic, can be polynomial. These are all related to statistics knowledge. We at a basic level we first understand the linear relationship. Linear means अगर x बढ़ेगा तो y भी बढ़ेगा, अगर x घटेगा तो y भी घटेगा. So it is like a like to like match. So linear is something which we studied the very first thing. Logarithmic or exponential is something which we study. अगर छोटा सा मैंने effort मारा, it will give me an exponential effect. That is something which happens in rocketry or in nuclear physics or nuclear science, where uh, even a small exposure of a uranium can lead to a large amount of impact, exponential impact. You know, that is what is called exponential relationship over here. But those are like complicated maths, more meant for statistical knowledge. But for us at a basic level, we can learn as a linear relationship, and this is a linear relationship which we are trying to build. And then we are trying to even create an equation, display the equation on chart, and that's how we displayed that this is the relationship between the two variables. If I study for uh, x number of hours, and if I multiply it with 3.56 and I added 14.1, those many are the marks which I can get. I'm not saying you will get, but you can get. It's basically all about probability. So this is all about the x and y or scatter plot. Okay. I just want to cover a very important chart before we end this session today, and that chart is a combination chart, which I promised Vajanti also earlier, that there is a combination chart which we want to do it, right? So if you remember, this is the same kind of data which we were working earlier today, which was based on, I think, this one. This is the one, right? If I copy this data, okay, let me copy this entire thing, okay? And let me bring it to the first, to the chart which I'm trying to explain to you over here, which is a combination chart. So I just paste this data over here. See the difference between the two things. It's almost same. It's like we are talking about months. This is all about months also. And then within months, we have two kind of data points, the revenue and expense over here. And then we have expense as a percentage of revenue. We are showing that whatever revenue happened, 1,13,000, 65,000 was my expenses. That means 58% of my revenue were my expenses. Okay. Similarly, we have a data point over here, like sales across different months. There's a grand total. This grand total is distributed, and it's like they have segregated it. If you add up these values, what you get is a grand total for that particular month. Okay, both of these are can be done in a combination chart. Okay, now let's try to understand this first, and then we can try to attempt to to do this thing with a combination chart. Let's try to first understand what is the meaning of a combination chart. So in this combination chart, what we will do is we will try to pick up these things, okay, and we will click on insert, and we will go into, see, it was very complicated earlier when we used to make combination chart. It was very complicated then, but today Excel has made these combination charts very easy to understand. Okay, if you click on this combo charts, this is the first type of combo chart over here. Okay, if you click on this, this is the default combo chart which you get. Okay, here again the chart title is messed up, so I will just quickly go and say the chart title is all about, here I don't have anything, so I will say expense and revenue data. Okay, so I've made up this chart. Now I want to show what is the expense and what is revenue. So revenue is in blue, which you can see as a column chart. Expense is shown as another data point, okay, similar to the cluster chart, and it's shown in the red. But if you see the expense as a percentage, it's flat, it's falling flat. Can anyone tell me why is it showing as a flat line over here? What is we are missing over here?
The
And
percentage axis.
yes, see the percentage access, that's correct, Vajanti. What happens is that 58% is actually in the absolute world, 58 is represented like this 0.58. 51 is represented as 0.51 in the absolute value. Okay, if I make this format as percentage, only then it will come up as a percentage, but in the absolute value is showing up this, and it's very low as compared to these figures, right? आप देखो एक जगह 1,13,000 है, and the other end you have just 0.58. It's like 50 पैसे को compare कर रहे हो 1 लाख के साथ, कोई comparison ही नहीं है. So that's why the entire line is showing as a flat. It's on the zero level, because at this axis which you are trying to plot this graph, it's not working. It's not working because वो ग्राफ जो बना है, वो एक्सिस जो बना है, it is more for these values. ये जो values है, ये हमारे percentages है. So it will be a good idea if we create another axis which will just be focused only on this data point, which is the percentage. Okay, application. So what I will do is I just select this particular data point, the green line, and I will press control 1, or control 1 press करेंगे तो आपको ये format data series आएगा, which you can see on the series option. You get to know whether you want this as a primary axis or you want to plot it on the secondary axis. So if I click on secondary axis, immediately क्या होता है? Immediately there is a new axis which is dynamically created with 0 to 70%, because max value is 60 के करीब है. So this is how the 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 green line now tries to show data basis on this secondary axis. And here we are having two different kind of graphs plotted together. One is a column graph, which you can see over here, and one is a line graph. And such graphs are basically called as combination charts. Okay. Any confusion on this combination chart?
No, sir.
Reshmi, any confusion from your side on this combination chart?
No, no.
Right? तो आपको जो मैं बोल रहा था ना कि स्टार्टिंग का 80-90% ऑफ योर डेटा विल बी टेकन केयर बाय योर बार ग्राफ और बाय कॉलम चार्ट्स एंड पाई चार्ट. तो रेस्ट ऑफ द 10% मैं बता रहा था, दैट इज वेयर योर combination charts can come into play. Okay, that is where your 10% of the combination charts will come into play when you're doing as a business analysis for anyone. If you're more into statistics or research kind of field, तो आपको ये XY आएगा, या फिर आपको line graph भी आता है for business analysis. Only when you have time series data, then you have the line graph. But when you're into statistical analysis, then you need to know what is histogram, what is the scatter plot, ये सब statistical knowledge के लिए important है. Okay, so ये एक हम लोग try कर रहे थे, this one. Now let's try to attempt to doing this, but I don't know if we will be able to get the complete picture on this, but let's try to attempt. यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम ये होगा कि if I do this, okay, if I go into insert and then I go into say the column chart, okay, yeah, not column chart, maybe I go into uh, the combination chart. कहाँ गया combination chart? This one, right? Insert a combo chart. Yeah, I click on this. तो इसमें क्या हो रहा है? This one is not going to pick up the grand total at all. आपको ये pivot के ऊपर बना हुआ है, तो pivot को whenever graph is coming from pivot. Now again, how do you recognize a graph is coming from pivot? This is a normal graph which came from an Excel table. This came from a pivot. If you see, ये जो labels दिख रहे हैं ना आपको, sum of revenue, sales and month, these are all coming from pivot. Another thing, pivot से जो भी graph आएगा उसके पास 3 extra ribbons होगा on the top: design, format and pivot chart analyze. और ये जो नॉर्मल ग्राफ होता है इसके अंदर सिर्फ आपके पास दो होते हैं: चार्ट, डिजाइन एंड फॉर्मेट. ओके, so either you can do one thing, you can go to the format and you can say design में या इसके अंदर you can go and you can say I don't want the field buttons. Okay, hide all, so you can hide them. तो ये देखने में आपको अभी ऐसा लगेगा अरे ये तो नॉर्मल ग्राफ जैसे लग रहा है, तो ये क्या है? तो just try to click on this and try to understand how many ribbons are there, and basis that you will come to know whether it's coming from pivot or not. Now please note that यहाँ पे मैंने combination chart बनाने का try किया, but what happened is that it just picked up the first two values into this particular thing, but the third value was picked up as a line graph. It automatically understands अगर grand total है तो इसका मतलब उसको neglect करना है. It will not take it as a part of the graph analysis at all. That's a default behavior of a pivot. It will not take this particular thing. But if you still want to go ahead and say नहीं मुझे grand total भी साथ में देखना ही देखना है, तो probably I will not create a pivot. I'll create a simple graph over here. And let's try to attempt this once again. So उसको attempt करने के लिए I just go and say value, okay, and then I just go again and say insert. Let's try to attempt this once again with a combination chart. Okay, line chart or secondary axis. See, ये सब secondary axis बन के आ रहा है. Now if I click on this, किधर गया हूँ? Where's the graph gone? Yeah, here. So यहाँ पे मैंने क्या किया, अभी मैंने इसको थोड़ा improvise किया. I boycotted that pivot का view, the format, and I made it into a simple view. And I said, no, I still want to have the combination chart. And in this, there are two things going in the combination chart: website, sales, and grand total. So what I can do is, if I click on this, this one, and I can say control 1. I don't want this in the secondary axis. I want this in the primary axis. Okay. और इसको मैंने chart type को भी I have changed it to say column. तो अभी क्या हुआ? Oh wait, why did it happen that particular way? No, it should not. I'm just selecting this green and then I'm saying change the chart type into column. Okay. No, it's not happening. Maybe I'll have to try out something, but not all, only the green line, Okay, for this, probably I will go to format and then I will say website sales. And now I go to the chart design and I say chart type should be a column chart for this. But the moment I'm doing it, changing the entire thing, it's not allowing me to change this single data point into a column chart. Maybe I will try to do something and try to understand whether we can make only this grand total as a line bar, and the rest of the things will come as a column chart. Okay, I'll try to do it maybe in the next session. Okay, so any confusion on these combination charts or scatter plot or line chart? Any confusion on this?
No, sir.
See,
Until the combination chart, everything is understood.
okay. लेकिन ये जो नॉर्मल कॉम्बिनेशन चार्ट है, ये समझा आपको, ये वाला जो बनाया था फर्स्ट वाला, दिस वन?
हाँ सर, वो सेकेंडरी एक्सिस वाला ना?
यस,
हाँ हाँ.
ये समझा ना? See,
हाँ.
most of 10% of the time you will use combination charts where you will have to use a line with a column bar or something like that. But ये 10% of the time ही होगा. But it's a very good representation, you know, because आपका axis एक अलग होगा. कभी-कभी ये percentages के साथ ही होता है. Most of the time your absolute values are on one axis and your percentages are on the other axis. So that is the time when you use your combination charts. Okay, what I suggest you guys is spend some time with this template. Okay, there are more homework material which I've given over here. अगर आप देखेंगे तो there is a lot of different kind of graphs over here. Okay, it's from combination charts to bubble chart to यहाँ पे बहुत सारे अलग-अलग मैंने ऐसे graphs के आंसर भी दे के रखे हैं. Try to spend some time. Try to understand how do you interpret this graph, because graph ऐसा है कि आप जितना practice करोगे उतना ही easily आपको आएगा ही. Okay, that graph is one way of summarizing your data. Learn it in that particular way. कि मुझे एक picture में अगर पूरा एक story समझाना है, तो the graph is the best way of doing it rather than depending on pivots.
Yes,
Alright?
sir. So in product management, we used to use a lot of these combination graphs for presentation. So that
Good.
is what I remember. That's why I was asking some axis, but
Mhm.
the third axis, secondary axis, which we were using it.
Right, right. You can, you saw how I planted that secondary axis, right? You just press
Yes,
on
sir, yes.
Control 1 and you select the data point and then you make it to secondary axis and it will
Correct.
happen. If you still face any problems, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to look into your issue and we can try to figure out a solution for that. Okay.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
So you guys let me know, are you guys free for tomorrow या आपको Independence Day मानना है? तो I have no issues. We can then try to see something else. But यहाँ तक हम लोग ने basics का अंदर 90% basics पूरा cover कर लिया है. Now we are looking into more from a data analysis point of view. Okay, so let me know if you guys are free for tomorrow. If not, let me know. I'm okay with both the ways. कल अगर आप लोग free करना चाहते हो, you're okay.
Sir, this celebration may be in the morning. I'm okay for 3 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
Reshmi, are you fine?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so let's meet up tomorrow at 3 p.m. then. Okay.
Oh,
So
Okay, sir.
till then, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Take care.
sir.
I'll
Thank
upload
you.
the videos.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Bye. Bye, Rishmi.
bye, bye.